Scottish football has had some incredible attackers over the years. The likes of Henrik Larsson, Ali McCoist, Kenny Dalglish and even George Best have all graced the Scottish game. But rarely do you ever see a group of 5 players so feared as a group the way the famous 5 from Hibs were in the 40s and 50s. In this video we're going to learn who the famous 5 are and why they are so celebrated within the Hibs support. Gordon Smith was back in the day what was known as an outside right, which in today's terms is a right winger. Gordon would make his debut against Hearts in 1941, scoring a hat-trick, and would go on to play 310 games for Hibs, scoring 125 goals. Bobby Johnson was an inside forward. He played 199 games and scored 105 goals over 2 stints at the Edinburgh club. Lawrence Riley was a striker and a one-club man who made 253 appearances, scoring 185 goals for Hibs in 12 years. Not only was he clinical for Hibs, he also scored 22 goals in 38 appearances for Scotland and was undoubtedly one of the best strikers Scotland's ever had. That statement is backed up by an insane stat that only Denis Law and Kenny Dalglish have scored more goals for Scotland than Riley since the Second World War. Eddie Turnbull was yet another one-club man who joined the club after serving in the army during the war, making 349 appearances and scoring 150 goals. However, didn't have as much success in the national team, making 9 appearances, scoring 0. Once retired, Eddie would go on to manage Hibs for 9 years in the 70s before retiring in 1980. And finally, the man who would go on to replace Turnbull as Hibs manager in the 80s, joining from bitter rivals across the city in Hearts, where he managed for 3 years. Willie Ormond, who played 335 games in the green and white of Hibs and netting 147 goals for them. Now that we know the men, it's time to learn how they came to be known as the famous 5. After the Second World War, Hibs were one of the strongest teams in Scotland, and understandably, having those 5 men in the attack. At the time, Hibs had only ever won the league once, and that was in 1903. However, thanks to these 5 men, things were about to change. Throughout the 1948 season, all 5 men would frequently play a part in helping the team storm the league and go on to win Hibs their 2nd title in the history of the club. This was a massive achievement for the Edinburgh side and definitely a relief, finally winning silverware after losing the Scottish Cup final the season previous to Aberdeen. Hibs would then go on to win the league 2 more times in 1951 and 1952 and reach the Coronation Cup in 1953. With all 5 men playing a huge part in the club's success. However, it wasn't only in Scotland that the players impressed, it was across the world. In 1953, when the club played in Brazil at the Maracanã Stadium, the Brazilian fans and the players were all absolutely amazed and shocked at the talent shown by the 5 Scotsmen. This period had been the most successful in the club's history, and it was thanks to this success that Hibs managed to take part in the first ever Champions League, known back then as the European Cup, in the 1955-56 season, after finishing 5th in the league the season before. Hibs, excited about the prospect of competing against the best in Europe and boasting one of the best attacks on the continent at the time, went into the games with no fear, beating everyone in their path until the semi-final, where they would meet French side Stade Reims in a game where they would go on to narrowly lose 1-0. All 5 men scored a total of 1,074 goals for Hibs, and amazingly the 5 men only ever got on the score sheet all at once in a victory in February 1954 in a 7-0 Scottish Cup victory over Clyde. The final time the quintet started together was in 1955, again against Clyde, in which the Edinburgh side would lose 3-2. I think it's fair to say we won't see another attack like that in Scotland for many, many years, if ever. And they truly are a huge part of the history of Scottish football and what makes it so great. And you can see why Hibs fans love the famous 5 so much. This video was very short and it was hard to find facts and stuff on these guys, so I apologise. In the future my videos will be a little bit longer with a little bit more in depth about the subjects. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you would like to see me research from your club and make into a video. Follow me on Twitter. It is at all things SPFL. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I shall see you later.